My mother-in-law sold my wedding dress 2 hours before the ceremony to fund her own Caribbean cruise. The dress my late mother bought me before she died.
That wasn't even the worst thing she did that morning. To understand how I ended up walking down the aisle again without Linda in the front row, you know the full story.
Stay until the end. The way she reacted when the money came back, nobody saw it coming.
I'd been with my husband Mark for 4 years before we got engaged. He's the kind of guy who plans birthday dinners a month in advance and still calls his grandmother every Sunday. Quiet, thoughtful, the calm in any room. His mother, Linda, was the opposite. Loud. Always running late. Always somebody else's fault that she was running late. The first time I met her, she told me my haircut aged me by 10 years. Second time, she asked Mark, in front of me, when he was going to stop dating around and settle for someone serious. I kept telling myself it was just her sense of humor. Mark would apologize after every visit. I'd say it was fine. It wasn't fine. But when Mark proposed, on the porch of his grandmother's farmhouse in Vermont, the only place he'd ever felt truly at home, I said yes without hesitation. Because Mark was worth Linda.
That's what I thought anyway. Then came the wedding planning.
I walked into the spare bedroom where I'd hung the dress. The garment bag was on the rack exactly where I'd left it. I unzipped it. The bag was empty. It was a designer gown my mother bought me 3 weeks before she passed. She'd been sick for 2 years. She knew. She'd put it on a payment plan she finished from her hospital bed because she wanted me to have something of hers on my wedding day. It cost $4,200. It was the last gift she ever gave me. I called Mark, hands shaking. He was at the venue setting up chairs. He didn't pick up.
I called Linda. Linda had stayed in our guest room the night before because her flight got in late. Her voicemail said she was off to start the day.
That's when I checked the driveway. Her rental car was gone.
That's also when I checked our shared family iMessage thread and saw a notification from 20 minutes earlier. Linda. 3 words.
Sorry, couldn't resist. And that somehow wasn't even the worst part. To understand why, I need to back up 2 weeks. Linda had called me on a Wednesday afternoon, voice unusually sweet. She had a small favor to ask. A pipe had burst in her kitchen, she said. She needed $4,200 to fix it. Exact figure. She'd pay me back by Christmas. Mark didn't need to know, no need to worry him.
The listing had been posted under a username I recognized. It was the same handle Linda used for her gardening Facebook group. She hadn't even tried to hide it.
I thought finding the dress on eBay was the bottom. I was about to learn otherwise.
The buyer had already picked up. Linda's neighbor, a woman named Carol, $2,800 cash. Linda had sold the dress for almost a third less than my mother paid for it. To fund, and this is what made my hands stop shaking and start something else entirely, a 7-day Caribbean cruise leaving on Tuesday. $3,800, ocean view balcony. I know the price because Linda had emailed Mark the booking confirmation a week earlier, asking him if he could watch her mail while she was away. He'd assumed she was paying with her own savings.
There's more. 2 days before the wedding, at the rehearsal dinner, Linda had cornered me by the dessert table and offered me her own wedding dress to wear. 80 shoulders, beating the works. Wouldn't it be meaningful? She'd said. I'd laughed politely and changed the subject. I now understood that offer had not been spontaneous.
There's still more.
The night before the wedding, the same night she stayed in our guest room, Linda had told Mark, quietly in the kitchen, that my dress looked cheap and that I would embarrass myself walking down the aisle in that. He'd brushed it off. He didn't tell me until later. He thought she was just being Linda.
She had been planning this for 2 weeks, maybe longer. Remember that timeline. It becomes important later.
This wasn't a moment of weakness. This wasn't a woman who panicked and grabbed the nearest thing of value. This was a plan with a budget and a deadline. I drove to the venue with Priya in the passenger seat, the eBay listing screenshotted on my phone, the cruise confirmation forwarded from Mark's inbox. I found Mark behind the barn, tying ribbon on the last chair.
I showed him my phone. I watched his face do something I've never seen it do before or since. He didn't say a word for about 90 seconds. Then he pulled out his own phone and called his mother.
She picked up on the third ring. He put it on speaker. "Mom, where is Sarah's dress?" A long pause. Then, in the breeziest tone you can imagine, "Oh, sweetheart, don't be dramatic. I just borrowed the money. I'll pay her back. You know how I am." He asked her where she was. She said she was at brunch with Carol, the buyer, celebrating. He said, "You're not coming to the wedding." She laughed like he'd told a joke. Then she realized he hadn't. Then she started yelling. She yelled about everything. About how my mother had spoiled me. About how Mark always took my side. About how she had given him life and the least he could do was let her have one nice thing. She yelled until Mark hung up. He looked at me. He said, "Plan B." "2 hours before the ceremony, Mark's grandmother drove to Carol's house with cash in her purse, her own savings, money she'd been keeping for a new refrigerator. She bought the dress back for the same $2,800 Carol had paid for it. Carol, to her credit, looked horrified once she understood what Linda had told her. She refused the extra 100 Grandma tried to give her for the trouble. I walked down the aisle in my mother's dress. Mark's grandmother sat in the front row, in the seat that had been reserved for Linda.
That was the wedding. The revenge took 6 more weeks.
Mark and I filed in small claims court for the value of the dress. The full $4,200 because the resale value didn't reflect the sentimental loss. Plus court costs. Linda didn't show up to the hearing. The judge ruled in our favor by default. We won a judgment. Linda's wages got garnished. Every 2 weeks, a small amount transferred to Mark's grandmother's account until she was made whole. Linda did, of course, take her cruise. We didn't try to stop her. The week she was gone, Mark went through the family group chat, the one she had texted, "Sorry, couldn't resist," to that morning, and he wrote a single message under it, addressed to everyone. He laid out exactly what had happened. The fake plumber, the cruise booking dated 6 weeks earlier, the eBay listing, the amount Carol had paid, the dress my mother had paid for from a hospital bed. He didn't editorialize. He just listed facts in order.
She came back to find the judgment letter on her kitchen counter, the garnishment notice from her employer, and a voicemail from Mark explaining that she could see us again when she had repaid Grandma in full and apologized to me in writing.
Was I too harsh? Should I have just let it go for Mark's sake? Tell me in the comments. Would you have gone further or pulled back? It's been a little over a year now. Linda has not apologized in writing. She has, twice, sent passive-aggressive Christmas cards. She showed up uninvited to Grandma's birthday last month, and Grandma asked her to leave. Linda left. We see her 3 or 4 times a year at family events Grandma hosts, polite, distant. The garnishment finished 6 months ago. Grandma got every dollar back. Linda has never acknowledged that it happened.
I'm still working on the believing part, but I'm learning.